The area of Seaford Bay known as the Buckle got its name from an event that took place in the 16th century. What was written on the wall there read, "In 1545 a small French fleet attempted to land in Seaford Bay but was repulsed by the men of the town and local landowners under the leadership of Sir Nicholas Pelham." A predecessor of Sir Nicholas Pelham had been awarded the French King's sword buckle at the Battle of Poitiers in 1356, having captured the sword itself. The buckle became the family's emblem, and as they have had an influence over much of Seaford's history over the years, this emblem gives its name to many sites, including the area where this 16th century action took place. Once you know what this buckle is, you start seeing it everywhere around these parts. There was a pub here once called the Buckle Inn, and after that was demolished, another pub was put up, Buckle, and you can notice the Pelham buckle on the pub sign. Pelham was born and raised in Lawton and grew up to have an interest in the wool trade around Lewes and bought a house there called the White Hart. He was married to Anne Sackville, and their names appear all over Lewes and quite a large part of Sussex.
There he is, Pelham. Part of the inscription that I can just about read says, "What the French sought to have sacked Seaford, this Pelham did repel them back aboard."
On the 18th of July 1545, a French fleet led by the High Admiral Claude d'Anabant attacked the south coast of England. The French had their knickers in a twist because the English had just captured the port of Boulogne and was after revenge. At Portsmouth, Henry VIII's ship Mary Rose had sunk as she tried to engage them. This later became known as the Battle of the Solent.
You don't frighten us, English pig dogs! Go and boil your bottom, sons of a silly person! I'll blow my nose at you, so-called, you and all your silly English...
Now there is a link in the description about the Battle of the Solent and why the French withdrew, but they moved eastwards afterwards further down the coast and attacked Hove, Brighton and Meacham, which is now Newhaven, before coming ashore in Seaford Bay, where it is said they set certain soldiers on land to burn and spoil the country. A local militia was gathered by Sir Nicholas Pelham of Lewes. One chronicler said the beacons were fired and the inhabitants thereabouts came down so thick that the Frenchmen were driven to fly with loss of diverse of their numbers, so that they did little hurt. Another account says the French were met with such manful resistance they were fain to betake themselves to their ships and galleys and to retire with considerable loss to their own side. It is estimated that 1,500 Frenchmen landed and they burnt half a dozen cottages at Blatchington Hill before they were repulsed by Pelham's ragtag army, which consisted of local townsmen, gentry and yeomen, who were presumably getting fed up with the regular incursions by the French, who had been attacking the Sussex coast since the 14th century. If you fast forward through history, two brothers are scuba diving off the Buckle and find two bronze cannons. Now, are these left over from the battle? After an unsuccessful attempt at lifting them, they ended up being lost under the sand. That's the cannons, not the brothers. The years rolled by, and Jules, who was one of those brothers, the original finder, finally crossed paths with me when he ended up at the same dive club in Brighton Bezac. That's Brighton Sub-Aqua Club. And further along the line, we ended up at another club I had joined, which was Twazac, which was Tunbridge Wells Sub-Aqua Club. Jamie was, well, a few years ago now, was a diving officer. Jules told us about these cannons and the position. By this point, it had been about 20 years or more for the archaeologists and various experts who they had contacted at the time to do something about it. But they'd never been able to really locate them again. And, the years went by and the interest faded. Well, Jules drew us a map with X marks a spot, but for one reason or another, we never went looking. Years rolled by, life moved on, and the only ones diving was myself and Jamie, left running the boat. Now everything gets worn out and knackered. Just look at Jamie. So, setting out together one day with Saucy Sue at the helm, the GPS decided to give up. We had to sedate Jamie after breaking the news to him how much a new one was going to be. And after the professionals had been brought in to open up his wallet, we got a new low-range GPS with a built-in sounder. Now what's good about the low-range is it has side-scan sonar on it as well, so you can get really good detail of objects that are under the water. The first time we went out to try try it. After installing it, we just ran up and down the beach testing out what did what. And we even hit a target that was cannon shaped. Well, the next weekend with the dive kit on board, we were heading back in and thought we'd do a bounce dive on one of these targets, as the visibility on that day was pretty good. Jamie asked me, what mark do you want to dive? So I said, well, the cannon one, of course. We threw the small anchor in and I went down. And I come straight back up again and says, like, give me my camera. And this is what I went back down and recorded that day. Then it was back to shore for more air and a skipper. We went back in knowing there was a second one there that we couldn't find, and we knew it wasn't going to be far away. Jamie found the second one pretty quick. All I found was a huge sounding weight. Well, what are we going to do with them? They'd been uncovered by the winter storms and shifting sands. They were in really shallow water and at risk of being nicked from anyone doing a shore dive. Even a snorkel, you could have found them. So we asked Recce Becky, our resident boffin, the ex-assistant receiver of wreck, what we can and can't do. Well, without a licence, you can't use a lifting bag or a boat or anything that would assist in bringing the cannons or anything else for that matter to the surface. It's been underwater for, I think it's 6 months. Now these things are heavy. So we said, well, will they give us a licence? She was like, oh, I don't know, she said. So we formulated a not so cunning plan, and with the help of Jules, literally pulled them out of the sea. We just tied a length of rope around each one, and after rolling it on some old carpet, hauled them out at low tide, one at a time, much to the astonishment of some Vietnamese fishermen that were stood watching, wondering what was going on. So no lifting bags, no boat, and no breaking of the rules. We filled out the paperwork, sent it into the receiver of wreck with both our names and Jules' name, as he was the original finder. In the meantime, we went in with metal detectors. I found a 50 cal machine gun bullet, Jamie dug out a shell casing, and we both found musket balls. The Dieppe raid in 1942 had left from Newhaven, and no doubt they were practising on the beaches around that time. The musket balls, I'm guessing, are from the Harlequin. The more we looked, the more we found. It's not unusual to find lead-shot and musket balls and cannonballs in this area though. It's strewn about everywhere, and divers have been picking it up for years. There's lots of these lumps of something or other, heavily concreted with shingle. You can see they were once in the shingle, but they're now laying on the sand. There's been a lot of beach defence works done. To begin with, they used a dredger to fire the shingle up the beach, but now it's just an endless job to keep the shingle in place with the use of trucks and bulldozers moving it backwards and forwards all the time. No doubt all this beach defence work has been responsible for uncovering these cannons.
3 or 4 swivel cannons, iron ones.
Yeah, we're running the detector over all the lumps that we marked. There's obviously something iron inside all this concretion, you can't really see it, but we did have to go down and put some covering on, because with his
Why is that then?
with his.
Covering on what?
Shall I say what it was?
Well, we know what it was because there's no concretion on that bit.
Yeah. Well, let's skip over why there's no concretion on that particular bit.
I'll show you. Because
You'll be in trouble.
every good archaeologist has one of these.
That's why there's no concretion on that particular bit anyway. Now, I'm no expert and this is all just my own thoughts. I can't prove or disprove any of it. But the swivel gun looks a lot more recent than the bronze cannon, so possibly from the Harlequin that went ashore and was wrecked in Seaford Bay along with 6 other ships, December 1809. There are other cannon amongst these lumps, and my opinion is that they are probably to do with the Harlequin, which was an armed schooner of 18 guns. There are other heavily concreted iron cannon off the Buckle site that are well documented. Again, I'm saying probably from the Harlequin. There are a few things listed in Dive Sussex about cannons at this site, but I'd take a lot of it with a pinch of salt. Some old cannons said to be from the Buckle site ended up in a shop front in Brighton. They were lifted not too far from the Buckle site as it happens, but not from the sea, from the front garden of Justice Greaves Lord, ex-MP of Norwood, who had lived at a house called Windy Gap overlooking the bay. Now this happened in 1936. Both cannon were bronze. They left the iron ones in the garden. Now, these garden decorations had been bought at an auction by Greaves Lord and had nothing to do with the Seaford Bay site. They were stolen and somehow ended up in this shop front in the 1980s. And Magnum seems to know quite a bit about this, although he would have been in short trousers in 1936, so probably not involved in the removal. I'm not sure where they are now. Portuguese cannon from the 1400s are also reported as being recovered. Now, I'm somewhat sceptical about that. 1400? Pretty old. There are 2 similar swivel guns, one in Newhaven Museum and the other in Seaford Museum, and I think these are the ones mentioned in the book Dive Sussex. I'm saying Harlequin again, and the truth of what's what and where it is, where it's all come from has got muddled over the years, and it's hard to know what to believe. The one in Seaford does have Portugal mentioned above it though, so I don't know whether that's anything to do with it. The MCA, Marine Coast Guard Agency, receiver of wreck, put us in contact with a chap called Hefin O'Meara. He deals with the underwater stuff at Historic England, with a review of working together to establish where the cannons may have come from. A team from Wessex Archaeology was put together under the leadership of Graham Scott. Myself and Jamie thought it would be helpful and went down and tagged all the various lumps with numbers and strung them all together so they would be easy to find. A lot of work and a lot of effort. A couple of days later, a storm blew through.
Yeah, we left it. We've been having a chat with Graham down at Wessex. He's been asking all sorts of questions. He wanted to know about the sand level, because when we went and dived it, I dropped in there, and all the string and all the hard work we've done marking it all up, it's all been ripped out by, I don't know, storms, people fishing, anchors, I don't know what, but it's all just a big messy jumble of line,
string and
followed the string, and then you saw a lot of strings disappearing out of sight. It's going down under the sand, and I don't know what to say. Half a metre or so of sand got shoved up onto all the artefacts, which is a bit annoying. Yeah, and then we left it. We was what was happening? I was waiting for Alison and Becky to come down and visit, which they have been now, because rather annoyingly they rocked up and found a date on them, didn't they?
oh, typical of them now, isn't it?
Typical.
Here we are for the grand unveiling, and we have the nautical police here. Look.
Yeah. What's your first impressions of them?
Quite pretty, quite elegant looking, aren't they?
They are very elegant. They're very dainty. Oh no, that's not. See that it really does help seeing them in person, because that's not what I thought. Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, so that's 53. So there might have been 2 other numbers here, maybe. Oh no, hang on. There's a 15 there. There you go. 1, 5, 3, 4.
4, yeah.
15, 34. Yay!
What? How come we ain't seen that?
I think maybe it could just
You
be because
do.
they've been covered in the...
1. There's a 1 there. 5, 3, and then here you've got 4. They're definitely cleaner.
Bloody heck.
See, we came all this way just to tell you the date, wasn't it?
We do. Here. Wouldn't it be great if there was a date or a maker's mark?
Which is interesting because I was beginning to wonder if, apart from the fact they've both got the trefoil markings on, haven't they? But I was thinking maybe they were from different. They were different nationalities, but they've both got the trefoil things on, which made me think they weren't. But yeah, but that helps in that because I was wondering, almost beginning to wonder whether that was an ermine, as in apparently Queen Claude had her coat of arms was an ermine, and Francois I had a salamander. And from the pictures you sent me, I could almost make that into an ermine with a crown over the top, but now I don't think I can, because that's just concretion on top, isn't it? It's this one. This is a really, I don't know about you guys, but that one's been really bugging me. That's a really unusual thing. I can't find any kind of markings like that. Well, yeah, there is a crown, but what it's over. It almost looks like a key or something, but I can't find any crests that have got one key. There's Avignon has 2 keys, or sometimes more than 2, 3 keys. So it may be that Avignon earlier on had 1 key, but I don't know what the keys symbolise. I haven't found out what they symbolise yet.
So did you say there was the
the
number
one
on
that
there?
was
Because it's
5
got the
on,
5
wasn't
on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got 1 there.
That looks like a 4 almost, doesn't it, there?
Definitely something there.
Here we are, bright and early. Ready to go out with Wessex today onto the cannon site. Alright chaps, and chapesses. Oh, getting ready for the dive?
Oh yeah. It's a privilege to be in your company, sir.
I think it's round the other way actually.
Thanks for having us here. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
It's the 76ers up there. It's a lovely chocolate here. Lovely chocolate back there. Yeah, it's lovely like the beach.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, very lucky. Thank you for bringing the sun. And,
Absolutely. Well,
all the people.
I'd like to lay it all on. Excellent. What have we got in here then? We've got Nick and Graham in there. Skipper Mick. There he is.
Oh.
Big boss Graham. Doing all the technical stuff.
Or sometimes failing to do it.
We cut that bit out. Right, this could be fun. I'm going in with the 2 chaps and see if we can locate a few artefacts. Getting ready to get in. They've got their plans scribbled down. So hopefully we'll locate some more artefacts. Cool. Can ask for a better day.
Is that waterproof? Now let me do a little video.
Well, it hasn't got a housing, but it's waterproof to
It's
about a
alright.
metre.
I got wet fingers. Alright, there you are.
I'm on video at the minute.
You are. There is a famous wreck explorer, Jamie. Today has joined the Wessex archaeological team. It's got Bob and Laurie there on a beautiful day on a beautiful beach. Oh, we couldn't really.
Doing all the checks, all the technical stuff.
No half-mast, I was happy with that. Perfect. Right. Is this your tape, Bob? Oh, no, that's fine. Right, okay, suit slipped. Yes. Right, harness, WCD.
just back up from an hour underwater with the boys, tying bits of string round
I'm Jamie, saved the day again. Thank you very much, Jamie.
It's probably more luck than judgment.
We thought to ship this man all the way to Scotland, and we thought he was going to save the day. I just barely found half of a completion, you know. Not very good. It was the good half. But then the good half.
Yeah, we found a few cannons, got those tied up, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And some lumps, so all good.
Let's go.
And now the technical team are going in now.
Boss.
Yeah, of course, we're here to do the more sophisticated work. I'm going to pay for saying that.
I think they've taken it.
Good.
Porvies and Sand had scuppered whatever they may have been able to find. Graham did do a lot of research into any vessels lost in the area, but couldn't find any for the time period our bronze cannons would have been lost. I've always thought the guns were thrown overboard by the French to lighten the ship as they made a hasty getaway from Lord Pelham's ragtag army. The ship may have settled on the seabed as the tide dropped, and throwing expensive guns over the side to get it floating again in a hurry was preferable to being killed. There is no evidence of a wrecked ship. No wooden beams or wood just below the surface of the sand that we have seen. It seems just to be the cannon, what else it may be within those lumps. I think the lumps are all from the Harlequin, and the only evidence for the Battle of the Buckle are the bronze cannon. That said, in 1996, Gary Palmer, ex-Tunbridge Wells diver, did find a barnacle encrusted something or other which he found whilst diving off Seaford Beach. He took the object home, and when it started to smoke and give off fumes, he threw it in a bucket of water and the bomb squad were called. They detonated it in a field. An army spokesman said that it was a naval smoke float which was fired off from ships in distress. Gary, when interviewed by the press, said he had dived the spot about 20 times and had often found musket balls, cannonballs and old bits of rigging. Now, I'm still of the opinion that this would have been from the Harlequin. Magnum did some research into the position of the guns, and he said the course of the River Ouse has changed, and maybe the cannon weren't lost off the beach but in the arm of the old river behind the shingle bank. In 1545 the Ouse had been a breach man-made cut, or a new entrance somewhere between the current mouth and the tide mills. The French, having attacked Meechin, now Newhaven, which records suggest had 80 residents at the time, then burnt half a dozen cottages on Blatchington Hill, which starts behind what we now call the Buckle, before Pelham drove them off. John Stowe, a chronicler writing in 1565, said that the French were driven back to their boats in the haven. There was no mention of ships lost, losing 100 men, suggesting they were inside the shingle bank. Otherwise, if they landed on the beach, they would have had a river to cross. Though the river still ran to Seaford to exit near Seaford Head, the entrance wasn't navigable. So, did the cannon survive the erosion of the shingle bank to leave them off the beach, or were they lost as the ships left the harbour? Records say the French fleet was 150 ships, 25 oared galleys with a single bow cannon and 30,000 men. The attack on Blatchington involved 1,500 men, but the number of ships wasn't listed. The whole fleet can't have been involved though, there just wouldn't have been enough room. Two of Recce Becky's friends, Ruth Brown and Kay Smith, had been on a visit to Sweden to visit a museum housing artefacts brought up from the ship Cronin, which sank in 1676. And while there, they noticed the markings on some cannons and contacted Recce Becky because of the similarity which was stamped on ours. Now, it's all taken a bit of a Swedish twist, as it's King Gustav I's coat of arms stamped on our cannons. So how did these Swedish guns get there then? Was it from the Battle of the Buckle? I mean, they could have been bought by the French from the Swedish government, captured from other ships again and again, and then ended up in the hands of the French, or lost from a Swedish ship that was wrecked in Seaford Bay and subsequently lost to history. We'll probably never know.
Hello?
Hello. Monsieur le Plunderer, at your service. I have some very important information for you on the Mary Rose. Your ridiculous story. She capsized. We, the French, we sink her with the big guns. Get with your English dogs. We sink your silly ship. Vive la France! Hello.